Hello everybody, I am Slow Rider. This is my world. Welcome. Yes. It's the A515 heading north towards Acorn. Still on the way back from Norman's Cafe. But I'll share some thoughts I've got regarding GTI guns. And such like, because I've just upgraded from the Insta361 RS to the Action 5 Pro, and there's a couple of annoyances that I really want to go for. With the 5 Pro I've also got a couple of mini mics. Closer. And I picked up a DVI 360 offload, Action 360, whatever it's called, 360 gun. Yeah. So first off, let me say, these are not bad bits of kit, okay? Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about them in that regards. There's 2 hours battery life in this camera, more than 2 hours in fact, even at 4K, which is really damn good, frankly. It's double the length of the battery on the Insta360 cameras that I've got. And the 360 camera records in 4K. Well, I say records in 4K. There are 2 4K cameras which are used to create the 360 effect, as opposed to the 1K cameras, or it's the 2.7K cameras. It's the 360 camera, or 1X2 that I had. So, you know, let's be fair and agree that they're good cameras. Perhaps a little on the pricey side, but you can get some deals for these now, so it's really not too bad. No, these are not the problems that I have. And the features generally are quite good on them. And again, these are not the problems that I have with the caps or whatever. In fact, I would go as far as to say that most of the issues I have are pretty minor. Pretty damn minor. But they're annoyances, you know? They're things that really should have been thought through before this thing came in. And I don't know if later cameras are different, they're probably not. So what seems to be my bother? Well, we'll start with the Action Pro, shall we? The Action 5 Pro, like I say, it's a good camera. It's the niggly little things. And when you're paying a premium price for a camera, you want the niggly little things to be right. This has a magnetic mount on it, which should be awesome, because the magnetic mount on the Cardo Factork Edge, and I believe the Neo, is pretty much perfect. So with the Cardo, you could almost throw the Cardo at the mount, the edge, throw it at the mount, and it will click into place. Okay, it's got a magnet there that holds it on, it's got a little click that you have to undo to release it to take off. It's not just the magnet that's holding it on. Okay, but you just slap it on, boom, done. Don't have to think about it. And I would want that to be the same for a magnetic mount for anything. It's just, that's the whole point of a magnetic mount, is it not? You don't have to spend 20 minutes fiddling with it to actually make it stick. Well, this is my first gripe with the Action 5 Pro. It has a magnetic mount. The magnets themselves, there's no problem with. It's the clips that hold it in place. It's like a secondary guard. Like I say, on the Cardo Factork Edge, whatever magic they use, it just clicks in straight away, no problem. With this camera, it's got two little clips on either side of the magnet on the actual mount, and two corresponding holes in the bottom of the camera for the clips to mount into. But the top of those clips are entirely flat, which means they don't auto-locate like you get with the Cardo system. And so I'm constantly finding that one of the clips will click in and the other one doesn't engage. So you've got one of the clicks on and one not, and that means that the camera's wonky and loose and it's terrible. So the only way to deal with it is to push both the buttons to as if releasing the clip, push those in, which disengage, I say disengage the clips, it allows you to take the camera on or off. Then put the camera on the magnetic mount, and then hope that it's aligned properly so that when you release the clips, they just find those little rotating holes and clip in. The problem is, the magnets are not exact. They can sit out of alignment, so you can spend a minute or two just trying to get the thing to line up properly and click in and engage, and it's a bit too much of a faff. You know, you just want to stick it on, bang, done. And I think if on these little clips, instead of it being dead flat, they put an angle on it, it would have done just that, and it would sit in and it would be brilliant. But no, they've gone for little flat edges. It's the tiniest of little things in that regard. But it just seems like such an oversight. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who finds that that's a problem. Maybe. It's just annoying. The second thing that I found a little bit annoying with this camera, and again, we're talking little minor issues, is that you get little cage so that you can put the camera in. Which, in the good old days, would be there to protect the camera from grazes, the scratches that you would get from dropping the camera. I guess the idea being you take the case off, replace it when it's really badly damaged, and whatever. And when you've got the cage on, you can still charge the camera or charge the battery of the camera using a USB-C, and that's pretty much standard. You know, the cages I've got for my 1X2s allow that to happen. With the cage I've got for my 1RS, that allows it, it's not a problem. And that's fine. If you want to change the battery or the memory card, you've got to take the camera out of the case. And that's a bit of a faff. I mean, okay, technically it's true for the battery at least on my 1RS. Because the battery is like a separate module that sticks onto the top, onto the bottom of the camera, which all sits in the cage. And, okay, fine. But the memory card you can change without that. On my 1X2 cameras, you can change the battery and the memory card without changing out, taking out the case. But then the cases I've got for them are third party, they're not original cases. Now this is a minor irritation because you shouldn't need really to take the battery out the after. Like I say, it's got more than 2 hours of battery life in it. And the memory card I've got, I think, a 512 in it, and that's got like 9 hours of time recording in it, even at 4K. Well, that's at, I think 25 or 30 frames per second, something like that. But yeah, so you won't have to do that often. That's not really the problem I have with the cage. There are two things I have wrong with the cage. Number one, is that the lens sticks out the front of it. Okay, you don't want the cage in the view or anything like that, but if the one thing that you wouldn't want scratched on the camera is the lens, and that's the one thing the cage doesn't actually protect at all. It seems to be a thing these days. I don't really know why. There is a lens on the One RS which is the same, but the lens will stick outside of the cage. Okay. But with the One RS, that camera lens is like a later addition to the range, because it's a modular camera. You can switch it out. So I kind of get it. This one, it just seems, again, like an oversight. We're not finished with the cage, though, because, as I mentioned, the mounting point of the camera, if you want a landscape picture, a landscape recording, the camera's got the mount. If you want the portrait style, which is more useful for like Instagram and TikTok and things like that, and more specifically TikTok, for that you need to put the cage on, because that's got the mounting point with the magnetic mounting point on the end. It is the end where the battery and the memory card is, which is why you haven't got access to that particular side of the camera. But it means that if you put the cage on and you record landscape like most motovloggers do, the mount that you put the camera on goes through the cage into the camera. There's not a mounting point on the cage for the landscape. And this is where my real problem with the cage is, because with the One RS, the cage is the bit next to the mount on the camera. And you press a button and the side cage flips open and you slide the camera around. And then you change the battery, whatever you want to do. And with the Action 5 Prime, with the cage on, if you wanted to change the battery, you've got to take the camera off the mount. Then, because of the design of the cage, you've got to push the camera out through the front of the cage, because that's how it goes in and out. Don't ask me why, but it does. Bit of a tight fit. Then you can change the battery. Then you've got to put it back in the cage. Then, well, you don't have to. Then you've got to put it back on the mounting point. And that's all because the cage itself doesn't have the mounting point. It's the camera that has the mounting point. Again, it's annoying if you have to change batteries. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't suddenly make the camera very bad. But it's annoying. I find it annoying. It's just, if you're never changing the battery, you never change the memory card, you'll never have that problem. But I record everything, which means even 2 hours recording time on the battery, I'm still going to be, like, this trip is on the motorway 2.5 hours, 3 hours. On the back roads it's closer to 4. So if I'm recording everything, I have to change the battery or stop for an hour and recharge it. It is what it is, but it's slightly annoying. Now, as I mentioned, I got 2 DJI Mini microphones. One sits inside my lid. To record my voice with dulcet tones, and it does get some of the audio from the bike as well. The other one I haven't quite worked out yet. At the moment, it's sitting in here, recording whatever sound is going on in here. I don't know what that is. It might be junk. But, you know, whatever it is, that's what it's doing. I'm trying to work out where the best place to put it is, because I want more engine sound, probably without the wind noise though. So I don't know where that's going to be. Do some tests. What I would really have liked is to connect up the microphones and just be able to record, as I'm sure anyone else would. But there's a little bit of setup required, and I knew there's a little bit of setup required because the microphones are really quite sensitive. I think they're meant to be more sort of attached to your shirt or something to record sound when you're just standing around rather than sitting on a motorbike. Barely speak to that. So you have to turn the gain down. It'll allow you to turn it down minus 12 on the gain. And again, I knew this was the setup that needed to happen. But it wasn't entirely clear, to me at least, how you'd do it. And I'd looked up a few YouTube videos. The instruction manual, for what it's worth, isn't much help in this regard, because the camera deals with the camera, the microphone deals with the microphone, and there's no manual that sort of bridges the gap between the two. Which is slightly annoying. So in this particular case, the manual is neither use nor ornament. So it's onto YouTube and looking up there, and yeah, okay, there were plenty of places to say, yeah, you go into the settings manual and you change the gain to minus 12, and there you go. Yeah. What they don't tell you is where that settings menu is. I did eventually find one. The problem with this camera, and I guess they're trying to make things a bit more accessible, but there are two settings pages. You have one in the main menu, which is all grand, and it deals with connecting the mini mics and so on and so forth, and that's grand. But the place where you need to set the gain on the mini mics is not in that main menu or in the settings menu anywhere, and this is one of the things that's annoying me, because you go to the settings menu, and this is the settings menu I knew about. You go to the settings menu and you change this, and you've set it to minus 12. Great. Wonderful. And it left me feeling for a while that maybe I'd had a firmware update and things had changed and whatever. And maybe there has been, I don't know. But no, the actual menu you want, if you have one of these cameras and you don't know where it is, instead of going into the main menu, there's a settings menu on the camera screen. It's on the right hand side, it's two little bars with two little dots in them. And when you open up that menu, it'll give you the video settings. And again, this is why I didn't think it was in this particular section, because I didn't see it in the audio settings, I saw the video settings. But if you look at the very top of the menu, there are two little logos. One highlighted is the video one, and right next to it, greyed out, is an audio settings. And you have to click the audio settings there to then go in and change the gain. And there's a couple of other things you can change as well, I think. Don't know what they do. Anyway. And then I think I watched maybe 6 or 7 YouTube videos. There was one that explained where this menu was. One. And And I found that quite annoying. And I found it quite annoying that the manuals didn't really help. I realise that microphone technology changes and you might get different microphones and whatever, and I realise that cameras change, and so cameras might not be mentioned in the microphone manuals, and okay, I get it. Obviously a grey area on where things get set, but it did kind of annoy me. It took me so long to find that menu. But even with that setting done, and even with the, well, whether you want the extra noise cancellation on or not, I mean, yeah. Some people say put it on, some people say don't put it on. I don't know which is better, because I don't think the audio is that great anyway. I mean, I think it's better than what I had, but I don't think it's great. Anyway. So those are the gripes I have basically with the camera and the mics at the moment. Like I say, it's small fry really, but it's just it's things that I think really should have been better. Should have been implemented better. Should have been designed better. And I'm going to say right now, the 360 camera that I got, the Go 360 camera, the only really nice I have that is with the protective screens you can buy for it. Because they give you a little cover to put over the camera. But if you get these screen protectors, like you would get on the Insta360 cameras, these ones clip on, rather than being gluing on or some sticking on. Which I kind of like, but they're so big that they don't fit underneath the protective cap that they give you for the camera. So you have to take them off if you're going to use that protective cap. Which means you risk getting hair, dust, liquid inside that protective cover for when you actually film things. I guess if you're careful, you will never get that, but again, it just seems a little bit meh. The biggest issue I have with the 360 camera is not the 360 camera, or at least not really. And it's also kind of twofold. You see, it records a OSV file, which is not one I'd ever heard of before, but okay. I'm not a tech wizard. But it appears that the only software that can deal with this file type is DJI's own software. And you would think that wouldn't be a problem. I mean, you need to edit out all the 360 file anyway into a regular MP4. So I guess, you know, it shouldn't really be an issue. So why is it an issue? Well, I edit on a laptop, and my laptop will quite happily run DaVinci Resolve. The full fat paid for version, it does so reasonably well. And it runs the Insta360 software for their 360 cameras, and it's okay, it's a little bit stuttery. It can take a while to render out footage, but it's usable. You know, if I've got a half-hour bit of footage to render out, I know it's going to take somewhere around 35 minutes, 40 minutes or whatever to render out. I leave it and do it and go do something else. I usually render 5 or 6 different things overnight, and that's fine. The DJI software, however, is not so cool. It's like it's been designed for a PC that has some sort of super graphics card in it. It's designed for a desktop PC, basically. And so, after about 45 seconds of video, the software on my laptop just stopped. I mean, literally 45 seconds of video. It stutters to 45 seconds, and even then, a little menu comes up and says, "Oh, this isn't performing very well. Perhaps you should go into SD mode." And you go and look, and it's in SD mode. Thank you, DJI. But it gets worse than that, because I put in a bit of non-360 footage, a plain bit of footage from the Action 5 camera, and it did exactly the same thing. It stuttered badly through about 45 seconds of footage, and then it stopped. Almost point blank stopped. And yes, it gets worse than this. Remember I said it'll render, my laptop will render out footage of 360 footage on the Insta360 software, and it'll do so, alright, a little bit slower than some other PCs might, but it does it reasonably. The DJI software I set to do a 45-second clip. Okay, there's a little bit of movement around, you know, sort of panning around a little bit on the 360 footage. 45-second clip. How long do you think it took for my laptop to render out a 45-second clip, albeit in 4K? Three and a half hours. Three and a half hours to render out a little bit, a 45-second piece of video. Like I say, it's not the world's greatest laptop, but if it can run DaVinci Resolve really well, and it can render out some 360 footage on the Insta360 software reasonably well, why is the DJI software so shit? I know some of you are going to say the laptop probably is shit. Okay, I'll take an element of that. But it runs the other software, it runs it fine. Well, as close to fine as is acceptable. Now, I suspect DJI are more happy for me to use my phone to render the footage and use the app on the phone. It's not precise enough. I can't see enough detail. I can't see what I'm actually rendering because the screen is too small. There's no point doing anything in 4K if you can't see what the resolution is and what it's going to be like. Utterly pointless. So okay, I guess for the TikTok brigade, it may well be fine. But, dear God, it is awful. So, whilst I have the 360 camera, it's basically doing nothing. And I really like the fact that the 360 camera uses the same batteries as the Action Pro 5. Or the Action 5 Pro, I should say. I like that the batteries are very much interchangeable. I think it's a really cool idea to do that, a really good idea to do that. Something that some manufacturers used to do and then decided it didn't make enough money. Again, I don't think it's anything particularly, there's nothing wrong with the cameras. What's the flashing for? There's nothing particularly wrong with the cameras in that regard, it's just the software. And if it was just the 360 software it was struggling with, okay, no problem. But it's not. A bog standard fat piece of video, and it's doing exactly the same thing. So it's clearly coded that you need to use that particular software with whatever massive graphics card happens to be in the PC or whatever. It just really sucks. So I'm going to have to see if my desktop PC will run it. No promises there, is there? And if not, then it's, you know, the 360 camera is basically just a waste. Now I do have also a little DJI remote, and I'll be honest, I've not read the manual for it. Okay, so RTFM, yes, absolutely, I should have done it. But I got the remote for free. I won it on a Rev1 live stream. In fact, I won 2 of them, but I've only got 1 now. And I'd heard that you could set off 2 or more cameras with it. Well, again, RTFM, I didn't. So I didn't know that there was another mode that you needed to go into, a multi-camera mode that you needed to go into in order to actually link it up to 2 or more cameras. So that's my fault, not reading the manual, although I don't actually know whether it's in the manual, because I haven't read it. But yeah, just, you know, FYI for anyone who has that remote and the cameras and more than one camera, yeah, you need to put it in multiple camera mode. I guess I can see the point of that, but again, it's a bit faffy, isn't it? Really? Anyway, yeah, no, the cameras are great and the microphones are great. It's just all these settings and setups and annoyances, you know, that they're minor in the grand scheme of things, but they're kind of annoying. That's my technology update. So, yeah. Am I okay with having spent a couple of £100 on each of these new cameras? Maybe. But I'm not 100% happy with it. And that's annoying. And if I was to suggest an improvement to any of the camera companies, frankly, if you're listening, what would be really nice is if you could turn the camera around and still have it on landscape. So you could put it in the orientation of portrait but still have landscape video. That would be really good. Because you clearly, you know, it stabilises for the landscape or for its gyro that it's got in it. So you can clearly have it at different angles. It's just if you turn it on its side, it suddenly go to portrait mode rather than sticking the landscape and going around. You could, like in the menu, have an option for, or a little sidebar for portrait or landscape, and then it didn't matter which way the camera is. So then you could actually flip the cameras on better. You know, it's just, surely the technology out there, the lens itself appears to be round, so why can this not be possible? It must be possible. Thoughts for the future, camera developers. Anyway, that's enough mining for now. Thanks very much for watching. Put your thoughts down in the comments section. Am I being a bit harsh? Am I fully justified? What do you think? Do you have these cameras and you think I'm talking out my arse? That's fine. I probably am. Until the next video, thank you very much for watching. Be good humans. Ta-ta for now.